Hello friends, Private Eye Dol is the coolest adventure game that you'll ever play on the PC Engine. It's a combination of point-and-click adventure games with RPG controls. You're controlling your character from a top-down view, and you wander around a scene doing an investigation. It's based in the 80s, 90s day era before cell phones. The first scene takes place in a spooky mansion. There are ghost sightings, and the mansion has a dark past of cult murder activity. Eventually, one of the girls goes missing and you have to solve the case. You solve the case through selecting menu options of who you think the culprit is, as well as looking for clues and talking to characters. You also occasionally have to do a QuickTime event. For example, in this situation, I have to pick where the struggle of the murder happened within 60 seconds. You also have to do puzzles, and really every scene gives you a new mini-game to overcome. It's very Scooby-Doo-esque, and I think it's delightful. This is just the first scene, and throughout the game you have to play through a total of 4 scenes. Each scene has its own case to solve, and sometimes has more mechanics. Now, the reason why I call this an adventure game, and not so much a detective game, is because most of the cases are really easy to solve and figure out. You don't really get punished for choosing wrong answers, really, and it's just, a lot of times it's common sense, and occasionally you do have to kind of think outside the box a little bit, but very rarely. So it's more of an adventure game of just clicking through things and exploring around. This isn't like Danganronpa or Sherlock Holmes or the When They Cry series. These puzzles are on the very easy side, which the story of the characters is really the centerpiece in this game, right? The characters are all there. They've got fully voiced lines, fully acted out personalities. It's really nice. It feels like a nice, easy anime game with awesome sprite work and 2D graphics. However, there is a death early on in the game, which will make you sad the whole time while playing. But this death does connect the game through the scenes, and this hook really makes you inspired to solve the case for justice. Most of the characters are iconic archetypes prevalent in anime. For example, Navi, she's a nice AI, very whimsical creature who speaks in a childish, cutesy voice. And then you've got Motoko, who's a headstrong tsundere character.
指輪が戻って奥さんは大喜び。木原さんだってほんの出来心だっただけで今は見つかってよかったんだって思ってるわよ。だからさ、元気出しなさいよ。そうだね。ありがとう、ポトコ。何改まってんのよ。バカね。いろいろ悩みすぎておかしくなったんじゃないの
？You also have other characters that, the hard-boiled detective and other anime tropes. By the way, Kihara, the eccentric nerd scientist, is definitely the best girl.
あら、メイさん、またお会いしましたね。木原さん？どうしてここに？それにその姿。大げさですね。可愛いヘビちゃんたちにご飯をあげてただけなのに。
There's also tasteful fan service as well. It provides the sex appeal, but doesn't lean overwhelmingly into it without it becoming a Coomer game. One of the coolest things about the game is that it's fully voiced. Each line of dialogue the characters actually say, and the drawings are really peak. This is such a rarity to find, not just in PC Engine games, but in games in general. While games on the SNES, PlayStation, Nintendo 64, and Saturn have voice acting for iconic or specific lines, this one has voice acting for everything, which is way cool. Another notable thing is that the characters actually move as the story progresses. Generally in RPGs, characters are static in place and don't wander around. But in this, characters frequently move to locations as you watch them, and you can even interact with them as they move. How neat is that? There are a ton of extra secrets and Easter eggs in the game, so if you get the English patch, make sure you read the README which describes the extra things you can do on a replay just to get some unique extra scenes. However, the game isn't perfect. The only slightly negative things I can say about it is that the challenge is a little bit too easy, but you can't expect everyone to be super good at detective or adventure games, and it's obvious that this game was made for a younger audience. The controls are a little annoying because when you walk into a wall, it begins to glide, which means you can't face something you want to interact with. Dialogue sometimes has to be repeated. You have to talk to a certain character repeatedly for something to happen. Most games have this, and I've never really liked it, but some will argue that it makes sense for this type of game to have. Unlike with VNs, you can't really go back to read something if you accidentally missed it. For example, I accidentally clicked through this note. Now I don't know what it says. The music is generic, but it's not too bad, but I would expect some better composition here considering that NEC typically has, very good scores in their games, but I can't really find a single song that I really enjoyed listening to. Overall, I really like the game because it oozes 90s soul, and although the gameplay isn't really intense, it's worth playing as a relaxing visual novel that has tons of charm, and for that I give it a 4 out of 5. You should absolutely play it on the PC Engine. There is an English patch for it, which I've linked in the description, so you have no excuse to not experience Private Eye Dol. Also, a bit of a historical fact, the developer HunieX is still going to this day. They make eroges, otome, bishoujo, and really all kinds of different games, although they specialize in visual novel type games. For example, they have worked on Clannad and Type Moon games. So, this dev really knows their stuff, and you're missing out if you don't give Private Eye Dol a shot. Thanks for watching.